This story is about 3D printing and why I got a resin printer. But, as with most stories, it is a series of events hopefully leading up to an inevitable crescendo. So bear with me, because we need to start from the beginning. I play tabletop wargames, a tabletop wargame mostly Age of Sigmar from Games Workshop. While painting my first army, I had occasional sidestepping thoughts of what would be my next army. The lizardmen, I mean Seraphon, were, and well, still might be, something interesting. Then, in the middle of painting and daydreaming of how stoked my son would be if my toys were dinosaurs, too, images of miniature releases from the then-coming Age of Sigmar update started to flood my screens. Seeing these new Stormcast miniatures, I kind of knew that the lizards would have to wait. I have other dreams too. It was rather close when getting back into tabletop games and miniature painting a few years back that I went full-on historical. Romans, for some reason, have always been a thing for me. Reading Tolkien stokes my childhood fires, and so do Roman legionnaires. They're almost as mythical as orcs, dwarfs and goblins, the shields, spears, cheek-strapped helmets, the red, or green if you're an Asterix and Obelix connoisseur. Images carried down centuries, probably distorted along the way, but still powerful, now a couple of thousand years later. And so could I merge the two, my enjoyment of fantasy wargames, with Roman legions? Also, utterly avoiding brown shirt-stained Roman symbolism. Of course I can, at least with a little help from my friends and resin printing. The Stormcast are already a visual mix of ancient Mediterranean looks, Greek, Spartan, Roman. What if I just slapped on a Roman-style shield? Probably the most visual Roman legionnaire attribute, the simplest of kit bashes. The idea grew. I had to get some Roman-style shields sculpted and then resin printed. Cast substitutes might be possible to find, but I want shields to size match, and I want my own designs on the shield. Inspiration can sometimes be a struggle. My favorite approach to enhance chances of future inspiration is to do as many different things as possible, to try and jump at those spur-of-the-moment ideas and at least give them a little of my time, and to not question all too much why I'm doing so. Like when I painted a golden egg for last Easter. For some reason, I also freehand painted an owl on the golden egg. A spur-of-the-moment thing that I let happen. I should have painted minis, but I painted an egg. And for equally mysterious reasons, that owl has stayed with me, to the point that there was never really any question of what design I was going to have on my soon-to-be-born Roman cast. They are, of course, going to be the owl cast. All this from the one golden Easter egg. By now, you might be thinking, are we going to be talking about resin printing anytime soon? My finger is hovering over the timeline, ready to dispel this story, ready to turn it into fragments of forgettable video snippets. Frozen, purveyors of 3D printers, have sent me their Sonic Mini 8K. It is my first resin printer. I never wanted one in the past, mainly because of the lack of well-ventilated and resin splatter-friendly spaces. Issues now solved. I also never really wanted a resin printer because I enjoy buying minis, going to a game store, browsing shelves, opening boxes, scraping mold lines, kit bashing, accidentally gluing things together the wrong way. It's all part of my hobby. I like it that way. I've also been reserved against the sometimes blurry detail and small yet visible layer lines on 3D printed miniatures. This, though, no longer seems to be an issue. Being a complete resin printing novice, my biggest fear has been settings and misprints. This entire video's creation is based around a time frame of having an extra week for, quote, setting up the printer, unquote. I have for some reason assumed that these things don't really work out of the box. Thus, I didn't even bother to film my first print. Why film a misprint? Only it wasn't. My first print came out perfect, using the settings, profile and resin provided by Phrozen. So I loaded up a plate of owl-cast shields, hoping that the first run was not a fluke, and praised the sticky resin gods. These came out great too. And so apart from the obvious shields, why did I get a resin printer if I like scraping Games Workshop mold lines and buying cast miniatures? Well, the shields do sum up the story, but not because of their existence, but because of their creation process. Cast miniatures today from larger manufacturers like Games Workshop cater towards large audiences. The style and sculpts are created to please the many and are in sense an outward face of a large corporation. A sculptor's style and individuality is not as much on sale as the company's conceptual idea. 3D printing brings the possible existence of miniature-related sculpts that would never have seen the light of day if a traditional casting process was the point of entry. Digital artists and sculptors can create pieces based on their own style, on experimentation and fun, rather than necessary sales and market analysis. Like Saint Decent, who designed the lovely miniatures that I used for my Monster Hunter diorama, or like Andy, Sin Nerds, who designed my lovely shields. The level of detail that home resin printers now have reached means that I can, without sacrificing quality, be on the receiving end of the new niche within our hobby: 3D sculpting and modeling. My first shield research was sketchy at best, gathering images of inspiration, different Roman shield styles, sketching out various owl-like images, creating mood boards of what was going on in my head to send over to Andy. Andy, who I consider being a talented artist and sculptor, just don't tell him I said so because I promised not to, very quickly not only interpreted what was the essence of my idea, but also translated it into something that would be readable on a miniature shield. And thus we commenced sending sketches back and forth. 3 shapes of shield, 1 owl. It's funny, I've seen things Andy has sculpted in the past, and from the very start of this shield design to the end, my thoughts have been, it looks like Andy sculpted this. It's a small thing, a small design, but I sense the person behind it all. And for me, that's a very cool thing indeed, to add something to my army, to my hobby, that to me has an individual's touch. So what about the printer itself and the printing process? For me, it's been a very plug-and-play experience with this Sonic Mini 8K. I have no prior knowledge of resin printers, and there are more knowledgeable people out there that can do proper printer comparisons. I have been told that it has dual linear rails and a 22 kind of upside down N, but also looks like a P, and then an M resolution. But what I see is very crisp detail. My first shields were printed out on 0.05mm thin layers. I was just so stoked that they even came out that I immediately glued them on my minis. There is a slight sense of printing lines, so from there on I tried printing on 0.03mm thin layers, without any other changes to the preset settings, and these printed out beautifully. I test printed out some random things, a mage/monster hunter from Saint Decent, here compared with a test mini my neighbour printed out on a different type of printer. Also compared to the ones I painted for my Monster Hunter diorama printed by Leif over at Devs and Dice. The comparison is difficult because of the one lacking paint, but yeah, I have to say that the detail on mine is just better. I also printed this little helmet designed by Fabian from Adamant Arsenal, linked down below to free samples but also a Kickstarter. Fabian reached out to me recently and I enjoyed his bits-based approach. I do like bits. This crab creature that I unfortunately ripped a couple of legs off of, this happens a lot to crabs I think, and a bird eating an eyeball are from Broken Anvil Miniatures. I just thought they would be good displays of small, smooth print detail. Just look at that eyeball. The process of printing has been less messy than I thought. I've seen enough of Luke over at Geek Gaming Scenics videos to know what to prepare for. I was early on recommended to get a wash and cure machine, and I would like to pass that recommendation on. This Wash and Cure Plus from Anycubic not only makes me think, is this how astronauts take a shower and get a vitamin D boost, but also simplified the post-process of resin printing immensely. I see my resin printer as a tool to envision ideas and a way to take part of other individuals' ideas, not as something that will clash with my traditional view on the hobby. Instead, enrich it. My Roman cast/owl cast are not going to be the full-on Roman replicas, new shields, head swaps, kit bashing, more videos to come, but they are still based on the Games Workshop miniatures I do adore. I have received all machines used in this video for free from respective companies. The total cost of a Phrozen Sonic Mini 8K in an Anycubic Wash and Cure Plus divided by shield count equals roughly $35 per shield. And so obviously, if you're interested in getting a resin printer, there needs to be more output than just printing the one set of shields for the one army. But I kind of hope you've already figured that one out. I guess another comparison could be that the combined cost of what I spent on my new Stormcast army by buying new Games Workshop miniatures is about $300. And thus that the price of getting what I've now got in terms of 3D printing and cleaning power equals the cost of 2 new hard plastic armies. Just to put things in a resin sticky ballpark for you. The story is now at its end. But what about that semi-promised crescendo? Well, Andy and I agree on the fact that the big story here is about being able to create things together, despite the confusion of time zones, and about the creative outlet that resin printing now enables. The fruit of this is my lovely Owlcast shields. These shields are now available on Andy or Sin Nerd's My Mini Factory page for free, but I do urge you to pick something else up along the way. For example, Andy does have some very nifty little insert bases for water effects. There is a lot of links down in the description, check them out. Some might empty your wallet, some will not. Please also check out my Patreon if you would like to support the creation of these videos. Thank you to Phrozen for the printer and to Anycubic for the Spaceman cleaning machine. Bye.